Breaking news from London on this morning of May 23rd, 2026. At exactly 4:45 in the morning, while the rest of the city was draped in a heavy pre-dawn silence, the iron gates of Clarence House swung open for a single unmarked black SUV with heavily tinted windows. Inside was Prince Harry, arriving for a meeting so secretive that not even the royal press corps was alerted. But he was not the only one. While Harry was being whisked into the king's private residence, his wife, Meghan Markle, was caught in a parallel maneuver just miles away. At 11:20 on the night of May 22nd, British Airways Flight 073 from Geneva touched down at Heathrow. Meghan did not head to a hotel. Instead, she was intercepted and escorted directly to the Windsor Suite, an ultra-secure VIP area reserved for matters of national security and high-level diplomacy. The public was led to believe this was a casual stopover. Meghan even posted a photo on Instagram showing a handwritten card from the flight crew, thanking them for their love and memories. But insiders tell a far more chilling story. This was not a choice. This was a coordinated summons triggered by a specific legal code from the Duchy of Lancaster office. For the first time since their departure in 2020, both the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are on British soil at the same time. But they are being kept in separate rooms, facing a king who has finally run out of patience. Before we dive into the explosive details of this confrontation, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are tracking this developing story minute by minute, and you do not want to miss our next update. Also, tell us in the comments, do you think King Charles should officially strip their titles today? Type yes or no below. The reality of this secret trip is beginning to leak, and it paints a picture of a couple under siege. Meghan's arrival from Geneva followed a disastrous public speaking engagement where, according to royal expert Kinsey Schofield, almost nobody showed up. The footage was embarrassing, an empty auditorium where the only people present were the media and a few hired staffers. Kinsey noted that Meghan's attempt to speak on the dangers of social media, while simultaneously shilling an AI shopping app, felt desperate and hypocritical. When Meghan shared that card from the British Airways crew, the backlash was immediate. Schofield remarked that sharing a thank you note from people hired to serve you reeks of narcissism. It was a calculated attempt to manufacture a popularity win at a moment when her favorability numbers are plummeting to the level of Prince Andrew. But while she was busy posting to Instagram, the king's legal team was preparing a document that would change everything. Back at Clarence House, the atmosphere was described as surgical. King Charles was not waiting as a father, but as a sovereign. He has reportedly prepared a decree of just 25 words that could officially end the Sussex's royal connection forever. Sources inside the palace suggest that Harry looked like a lamb to the slaughter as he entered the building. He is facing the consequences of the hidden clause left by the late Queen Elizabeth II, a document that was only to be opened in the event of a total breakdown in family relations. The king's move is a direct response to Meghan's latest media blitz, a massive photo dump of their 2018 wedding where she systematically edited out the royal family. Best man Prince William, Princess Catherine, and even the late Queen were banished from the images. Palace insiders describe this as a declaration of open war. Now the clock is ticking. The king has set a deadline. This isn't just about an inheritance of £20 million. It is about the very names they carry. The Duke and Duchess are currently facing a split or strip ultimatum. If they cannot agree to the king's new terms of residence and silence, they will leave London as nothing more than Mr. and Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor. Stay with us as we uncover what happened behind those closed doors at 4:45 this morning. The future of the House of Windsor is being rewritten right now, and the ink is barely dry. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next hour will be critical. The heavy mahogany doors of the king's private study at Clarence House didn't just close this morning. They sealed a trap that has been 4 years in the making. As Prince Harry sat across from his father, he wasn't just looking at a parent. He was facing the clinical precision of the British High Court and the king's most senior legal advisors. On the desk between them lay a single formidable document, a codicil to the late Queen Elizabeth II, dated March 2022. This was the Queen's final masterstroke, drafted just 6 months before her passing. It is a document that royal insiders are calling the Living Connection Clause, and its activation today has sent shockwaves through the Sussex camp in California. The mechanism of this clause is as brilliant as it is brutal. It stipulates that a private inheritance of £20 million is to be held in a strict legal vacuum only to be dispersed under one non-negotiable condition. Prince Harry must maintain a physical documented presence on British soil for no less than 90 days every calendar year. But the financial hook is only the first step in this legal staircase. King Charles has added a devastating secondary layer to his mother's final wish. According to sources close to the keeper of the privy purse, the king has tied the future of the titles for Archie and Lilibet directly to this residency requirement. The king's message to his son was reported to be surgical. If Harry wishes for his children to retain their royal status and the protection that comes with it, he must fulfill his 90-day obligation, and he must do it alone. The legal framework is designed to force a total decoupling of Harry from the Meghan Markle PR machine. Under the terms presented this morning, any time spent in the United Kingdom under this clause must be strictly non-commercial and severed from any external media production. This means no Netflix cameras, no podcast microphones, and no stage paparazzi walks. It is a solo rehabilitation program mandated from the grave. Think about the position Harry is in at this very moment. If he accepts, he secures £20 million and the royal futures of his children, but he effectively agrees to a life of forced separation, spending a quarter of every year away from his wife and the brand they built in Montecito. If he refuses, he walks away from the money. But more importantly, he effectively signs the warrant that strips his children of their identity, leaving them as private citizens with no link to the 1,000-year-old institution they were born into. The king's legal advisors have reportedly made it clear that the deadline for a signature is fast approaching. This isn't a suggestion. It is a constitutional ultimatum with a countdown clock. As Harry stares at that March 2022 signature from his grandmother, he has to realize that the freedom he and Meghan sought in 2020 has now met its ultimate price tag. While Harry remains isolated within the walls of Clarence House, the question everyone is asking is, what is happening at the Windsor suite? Meghan Markle is currently sitting in a high-security lounge at Heathrow waiting for a signal. She is reportedly being kept in the dark about the exact specifics of the 90-day solo clause. Imagine the tension as she monitors her phone, knowing that her husband is currently deciding whether to choose his family's royal legacy or the life they manufactured together in America. The future of the Sussex marriage isn't being decided on a therapist's couch. It is being dismantled by a legal mechanism that Harry never saw coming. As the clock ticks toward dawn at Clarence House, a secondary digital front has opened in the war for the House of Windsor. While Prince Harry is sequestered in the king's study, his wife Meghan Markle has launched what royal analysts are calling a preemptive psychological strike from her secure location. On this morning of May 23, 2026, their 8th wedding anniversary, Meghan has released a massive, unprecedented photo dump of unseen pictures from their 2018 wedding at St. George's Chapel. To the casual observer, it looks like nostalgia. But to those who understand the cold language of royal PR, this is a calculated act of strategic erasure. In dozens of high-definition images, Meghan has effectively performed a digital purge of the British monarchy. Prince William, who stood as Harry's best man on that day, is nowhere to be found. He has become the invisible man. Princess Catherine, the late Queen Elizabeth, and Prince Philip have all been systematically edited out or framed out of the narrative. This isn't just an anniversary post. It is a declaration of open war. By stripping the royal family from her wedding album, Meghan is sending a definitive message to King Charles. You did not make me. You do not exist in my history. Royal expert Kinsey Schofield describes this move as unpleasant and bizarre, noting that Meghan is trying to rewrite the reality of a day that was only made by the very people she is now deleting. It is a stunning display of revisionist history designed to portray Meghan not as a bride welcomed with open arms by a future king, but as a woman who was always alone, always isolated, and always the architect of her own destiny. But it is the images of Harry that are the most unsettling. Analysts who have scrutinized the newly released footage describe a man who looks increasingly like a lamb to the slaughter. In the dancing photos and the candid moments, the power dynamic is jarring. One particularly haunting image shows Meghan leading Harry through a crowd, her grip firm, while he appears almost like a rag doll in her arms. There is a vacant look in his eyes that contrasts sharply with the radiant, camera-ready smile of his wife. This photo dump serves a dual purpose. First, it is a clapback to Princess Catherine, who has recently dominated global headlines with a triumphant tour of Italy. Meghan, sensing the shift in public adoration, has reached back into her arsenal to reclaim the spotlight. Second, and more importantly, it provides her with leverage. By reminding the world of the magical day in Windsor, she is attempting to anchor Harry to the Sussex brand just as the king is trying to pull him back into the royal fold. The palace is reportedly appalled by this move. To release these images while Harry is physically inside Clarence's house, facing a constitutional crisis, is seen as a direct middle finger to the king's authority. It raises a terrifying question about the state of the Sussex marriage. Is this the behavior of a woman celebrating 8 years of happiness? Or is it the desperate maneuver of a strategist who realizes her most valuable asset, Harry's royal identity, is being dismantled behind closed doors? As the world scrolls through these censored images of a wedding that once promised a new era for the monarchy, the vacuum at the heart of the Sussex's life has never been more visible. Meghan is showing the world a paradise that looks perfect on Instagram, but as the secrets of the Windsor suite and Clarence's house begin to bleed out, we have to wonder who was Meghan really trying to convince with those photos. Was it the public, or was it the man currently sitting across from the king realizing for the first time just how much of his own history has already been erased? While the digital war over wedding photos rages on social media, the financial foundation of the Montecito Empire is quietly disintegrating. This morning, as King Charles presents his ultimatum to Prince Harry, he isn't just fighting a family battle. He is striking at a moment of total professional vulnerability for the Sussexes. Behind the high walls of their California estate, the Sussex brand has transitioned from a global powerhouse into what tech insiders call vaporware products that are heavily advertised but never actually exist. The data supporting this collapse is undeniable. Just days ago in Geneva, Meghan Markle appeared at a high-profile summit intended to address the harms of social media. The optics were devastating. Despite the Duchess's global fame, reports confirm a shockingly low turnout, an auditorium of empty seats, where the only significant presence was the media she had invited herself. Kinsey Schofield noted that the footage was embarrassing, suggesting that the public is simply sick of the grief grifting, tired of seeing pain used as a form of media currency. The professional failures extend far beyond Geneva. For years, the couple has teased a slate of high-profile projects with Netflix, yet the reality is a vacuum of content. Their adaptation of the memoir, No Way Out, the story of a British Army major, intended as a subtle clapback to political critics, remains stalled in development. The promised scripted series on the world of Polo and Meghan's lifestyle podcast have yet to materialize into anything more than press releases. As one royal commentator put it, if they put half as much energy into execution as they do into leaking positive stories about themselves, their IMDb profiles might actually expand. Instead, they are left with confessions of a female founder, a project that feels more like a desperate attempt to pivot away from a royal identity that is being stripped away in real time. But the most chilling aspect of this professional decline is how it has altered the domestic atmosphere in Montecito. Insiders suggest a specific cold mechanism is at play. As the funding dries up and the influence wanes, the warmth Meghan once provided Harry has begun to evaporate. Schofield suggests that Meghan initially mothered Harry, providing a sense of safety and maternal energy he had been starved of since the traumatic loss of his mother. However, as her focus has shifted entirely toward building her own independent brand and shielding her children, Harry has been left in the cold. The contrast is stark. While Meghan is seen in Geneva or posting Instagram cards from flight crews to manufacture a sense of adoration, Harry is often described as looking messy and unhappy in the background of their few public appearances. The palace has noticed this fracture. King Charles's legal team isn't just acting on a whim. They are moving into a gap created by professional failure and personal isolation. They know that a man who feels he has lost his purpose and the maternal warmth of his spouse is a man far more likely to sign a residency agreement that brings him back to the safety of the crown. This brings us to the most uncomfortable question of the morning. Is the perfect paradise Meghan is advertising on Instagram actually a house of cards? Truly happy couples don't need to advertise their bliss through public displays of affection and calculated anniversary cakes with only 4 candles. As Meghan sits in the Windsor suite and Harry faces the king, the vaporware of Montecito is finally meeting the cold reality of London. The empire is failing, the projects are vanishing, and for the first time, the director of operations might find that her most important subject is looking for a way out. As the high-stakes meeting inside Clarence House enters its third hour, royal analysts are beginning to map out the potential outcomes of this unprecedented confrontation. King Charles, armed with the living connection clause and the authority of the High Court, has presented Prince Harry with a choice that will fundamentally reshape the House of Windsor. This isn't just a conversation between a father and a son. It is a clinical evaluation of a crumbling empire. Based on the legal and psychological dynamics at play this morning, 3 distinct scenarios are now being whispered about in the corridors of power. The first, and most volatile, is the total collapse. In this scenario, Harry and Meghan choose to reject the king's ultimatum entirely. They refuse the 90-day residency requirement and the solo rehabilitation clause, viewing it as an unacceptable attempt to control their lives. If this happens, insiders say the king is prepared to activate what is known as the 25-word rule, a short, surgical decree that would officially strip the couple of their remaining titles and sever every formal connection to the crown. Faced with the total loss of their royal status and the mounting financial pressure from their failed media projects, this outcome would almost certainly trigger a swift and public divorce as the Sussex brand effectively hits zero. The second possibility is the tactical separation. This is a middle ground agreement where Harry accepts the residency requirement to secure his £20 million inheritance and the titles for his children. Under this arrangement, Harry would spend a quarter of his year in the United Kingdom while Meghan remains in California with her independent ventures. A closed-door financial agreement would be signed to keep the peace. On the surface, the Instagram feed would continue to show a unified, happy family, but behind the scenes, the legal marriage would effectively end. It would be a partnership of convenience, held together only by the necessity of the brand. However, the third scenario is the one most royal insiders believe is currently unfolding. This is the King's Gambit. In this version of events, Charles uses the power of the crown to prioritize the protection of his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, while systematically isolating Meghan from the sphere. Harry would be placed on a long-term solo rehabilitation path in the UK. A structured return to royal life designed to restore his public image and distance him from the Montecito vaporware. This scenario treats Harry not as a co-conspirator, but as a man who needs to be rescued and reprogrammed back into the institution. The reason the king believes this is possible lies in the behavior we are seeing from Montecito right now. Psychologists often point out that truly happy couples do not feel the need to constantly advertise their perfection. The over-the-top public displays of affection, the shared thank you notes from flight attendants, and that strange anniversary cake with only 4 candles. It all points to a marriage that is overcompensating for a deep internal rot. King Charles isn't just acting on legal advice. He is reading the room. He sees a woman desperately trying to convince the world she is a female founder and a perfect wife, while his son sits in London looking like a man who has finally realized the price of his independence. As the sun rises over London on this May morning, the director of operations at the Windsor suite might be realizing that the king has made a move she can't edit out. The question is no longer if Harry will return, but what will be left of his old life when he does. As the dawn light finally breaks over the rooftops of London on this 23rd of May, 2026, the most baffling detail of the entire Sussex anniversary week has emerged, and it isn't found in a legal document or a palace decree. It is found in a seemingly innocent video posted to social media just days ago. In the footage, Prince Harry is seen walking into a kitchen carrying a celebratory cake to mark their 8th wedding anniversary. You can hear the children squealing with delight and Meghan laughing in the background. But as the camera zooms in, the festive atmosphere is punctured by a detail that has sent royal watchers into a frenzy of speculation. The cake, celebrating 8 years. Marriage has only 4 candles. The question is immediate and haunting. Why only 4? In a world where Meghan Markle calculates every frame and every caption with the precision of a master strategist, this cannot be a mistake. Is it a silent admission that out of 8 years, only 4 have been real? Or is there a darker, more symbolic meaning behind the flickering flames? Analysts are pointing to a specific timeline, 2020 to 2024. It has been exactly 4 years since the couple officially stepped back from royal duties and moved to California. Is those 4 candles a subconscious signal from Harry? An echo of the 4 years he has spent in what some insiders are calling his gilded captivity across the Atlantic? Kinsey Schofield recently joked that Harry might struggle with basic arithmetic. But the reality is likely far more professional and far more chilling. Those 4 candles represent a fracture. Perhaps they signify the 4 years the Sussex brand actually had momentum before the vaporware began to fail and the auditoriums in Geneva began to empty. Or perhaps they represent the 4 members of the family Meghan has chosen to keep in her circle, having edited every other royal relative out of her life and her wedding album. As Harry prepares to leave Clarence's house this morning, the weight of those 4 candles must feel heavier than ever. He is walking away from a meeting where the king has laid out a 90-day residency ultimatum. He is walking away from a legal mechanism that treats his marriage not as a partnership, but as a hurdle to be cleared. Behind him, the lawyers are packing up the March 2022 codicil, the Queen's final safeguard. Meanwhile, at the Windsor suite at Heathrow, Meghan Markle is reportedly preparing to board a flight back to California. She is clutching the thank you card from the cabin crew, a desperate piece of paper she shared with the world to prove she is still loved, still relevant, and still royal. But as she looks out the window at the British skyline, she must be wondering what Harry told the king. Did he choose the £20 million and the royal legacy of his children, or did he choose to return to the kitchen in Montecito to blow out the candles on a marriage that is increasingly defined by what is missing? Harry is at a crossroads. He can continue to be the rag doll in a scripted social media paradise, or he can reclaim the identity he lost 4 years ago. How many candles? Can Harry count on the cake of a career that is currently going nowhere? And as Meghan Markle leaves London today, the world is watching the passenger manifest very closely. Will she land in Los Angeles as the Duchess of Sussex? Or is she already back to being the actress from Suits, clinging to Instagram stories and flight attendant notes as her only proof of a life that once was? This is a story that is changing by the hour. We want to hear from you. What do you think the 4 candles really mean? Is it a signal for help or a sign of the end? Drop your theories in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the royal fallout helpful, please hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to see the truth behind the headlines. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon, so you are the first to know when we break the next chapter of this royal crisis. Thank you for watching.